that's better.
You always put this filter on.
It's my favorite. It makes me look real nice. Hi, fam. All right, we're back. It's Thursday. We've been hella busy. We just had to watch the Lakers game, so of course we had to watch that before we could jump on tonight. But we're just gonna do a little continuation of all of the questions that we've got. And we're gonna start with a big one that is, I think I skipped over it last time because I was like, this could be an entire video. It's Alyssa's question that is, how has y'all's relationship grown over the past couple of years? Hi guys, jumping on. Say hello, hello,
What
hello.
up, what up?
Hey. Okay. Oh no, how do I get this down? There we go. Okay, so we are answering the question, how has our relationship grown over the past couple of years? So we have been together since, what year?
2018.
2018, August 2018. How long is that? What year is it? 2020.
Come on now.
Okay, well, we've been together for a little while, and we have known each other longer than that. But we started our relationship in New York. So if you haven't heard our story, you should definitely go back and listen to our entire story because we share all of the details of how we actually met and also just like how we ended up in Austin. But how our relationship has grown, I think that it is completely different from how we started, and also just like I feel like every single aspect of our relationship is like 180 from New York to Austin. New York, yeah, I love it.
What up?
So, you want to start, babe?
I don't. This is a pretty big question.
Hi, Case.
What was the question again? It was.
How has our relationship grown?
It's grown in multiple ways. There's just too many ways, so I'm just gonna pick one.
Okay.
I think,
we'll start with one.
I think it has grown tremendously in. Well, I'm gonna take the one that we were gonna talk about, which is faith. I think our faith is just like really grown in terms of believing in something other than ourselves, being the power source to what's gonna get us to what we want to achieve in life. And obviously the best way to achieve what you want in life is to not so much focus on yourself and focus on helping others
To serve.
and to serve, in the process. But I think when it comes to a relationship, like, that's the biggest thing, because you're literally serving someone else all the time. Like, if you're with that person all the time, and even into like deeper relationships, marriages and stuff like that, you see divorce rates. I wonder that sometime, like, the serving isn't, like, something isn't there, and I think it's because people focus on their individual wants and needs and all stuff like that, instead of having a faith and a belief in some other source, a higher source that you can both relate to when you're kind of foggy minded. So
basically, when we first started our relationship, and I shared this a little bit yesterday, of how I did not grow up with any kind of like strong faith or religious background. And then not even really when we first got together did we have, that wasn't really a part of it. You mentioned it, like, you talked a little bit about it in your songs, but even for you, it wasn't really something that you grew in, I feel like, until we got here.
Yeah.
So I was just saying that, like, when we first met, that wasn't part of, like, faith was not something that I was really growing in. But when we got together, I think we quickly realized, like you said, that we almost had to have some other kind of connection with a higher power, and also, like you said, like the serving and like needs of each other. Like, you can't rely on somebody else to make you happy. And I think that's probably the biggest lesson we learned last year, at least for me, is like, I cannot rely on him for anything to make me happy. Like, I am my own individual and have to make myself happy, and he has to do the same. And so I think the dynamic of our entire relationship has changed now because we have our own individual selves and we come together in a relationship, but you've said this to me before, like a straight line isn't very sturdy. Like it can break apart. There's nothing really holding it together. So we have really worked this entire past year. I feel like that was our biggest growth, was our faith and putting God at the center of our relationship, because it makes that nice triangle. And when I am struggling in some way, like I can always rely on God to like serve whatever need I'm looking for that he can't give me. Like he can't provide everything that I need, and I can't provide everything he needs. Like that's what a higher power is for, whatever you believe in.
And that's, I just want to touch on that a little bit in saying, like, in terms of relationships with arguments, like you go into arguments, like everybody has them, everybody has disagreements, but I think some arguments become worse, which could lead to like worse arguments, violence, divorce, because people in the midst of arguments or even after arguments, the other person believes like I got to be able to do something to fix that, or I got to be able to do something to change that, to make it better, and the other person's thinking the same thing, and they're so trying to change it, and when that doesn't work, whatever they did, it just makes more problems, and vice versa, as opposed to having faith in something other than yourself, being able to fix it, and just have faith that this connection here with that higher power will take care of what needs to happen on that side, and vice versa. And I think that's a big thing that's helped us in our relationship. Instead of trying to just like nail things out like that, sometimes you have to just like let it be and just give it to a higher source.
And I'm really glad you said that, because I feel like it opened another door in one area that we have really grown in, and that is like, I don't know whether we talked about this last time, but like confrontation or having discussions, like how we work through those. Because for me, this is something that I personally had to like really work through, is I had zero confrontation skills or like communication skills coming into this relationship. Like, and I know that everything, like a lot of stuff stems from your childhood, but there comes a point where you have to take responsibility for it and become your own person and decide how you want to go into a relationship. So even though I think both of us struggled with communication, and it was from like different, like totally different, what's the word? Like yours was, like yours was you wanted to figure stuff out like right then, and I'm more like, I don't want to, like, I want space, I want time, I want to be able to think, like, and so I think that's one area that we've really grown in. And like you said, like, there's not always a direct answer, but as long as you understand that you, like, you have love for each other and, like, you want to be able to figure out, but sometimes you just kind of, like you said, like, have to let it be.
Yep. I agree.
Okay, so I feel like we can talk more about, go down a different direction. How has our relationship grown over the past couple of years? I think what we focus on is different. I think in the beginning, and this is like very common for the society, like what we were like used to, what was normal, is just like we were attracted to each other. I don't know, like our focus now is more so like putting God first and how we can serve and how we can both go after our dreams, instead of, like I said, like relying on the other person to make you happy. Because I think a lot of people nowadays get into relationships for that reason, because they think that this other person is their other half. You hear that a lot. And I don't think that's like, I don't think that's true. I think you should be whole by yourself. And then you come together like this just to like push each other and like, you know, stay on each other for like what your goals are, and work together. Like
what you just said a minute ago about the other half thing, and you hear that a lot, and you hear a lot of, you know, that my significant other is my everything, and I'm just like, I don't know, like, not to judge or anything, but that's just not how I could view her, like, as my everything. Like, that just wouldn't serve her, because like, it would serve her to be with somebody who is helping others, who is like making sure that I'm good, like my mental is good at all times. And because if I'm just, everything is focused on her at all times, the minute she's upset with me or something's not right, I'm gonna be a mess. Like, I'm gonna be ruined. As opposed to, we're having a disagreement right now. Let me focus on my other things that I do and give it to faith and just let it be. And then it all mends itself out. Like, I think that's a big thing in relationships. Like, two people get together and they are literally just like,
Like inseparable,
yeah,
dependent.
like your life, your friends don't matter all of a sudden, your hobbies don't matter, the stuff that you were doing, all the other stuff you were doing when you were single, and you had other things that you were interested in, like
Kind of lose those.
yeah, and people get together and they're literally like,
that's all that they have.
that's it.
I was also gonna say, this was kind of where I was going before, but I forgot. One thing that we like had to work through was the fact that, like I said, I had like really really solid communication, and like did not want to deal with any kind of confrontation. And so when there was any kind of disagreement, I was like, okay, this is just not working. Like, I don't know if I could do this. And I feel like that's something we really had to overcome, because I was like, I didn't have that strong faith. I didn't have something else to rely on when there was like, at first, that's something that is new to me. And so when we would come up against like conflict, I just was like, oh, this isn't how it's supposed to be. Like, I'm gonna peace out. And we really had to like overcome that. So that's one way that we have grown a lot. And I think that comes down to like, when you're in a relationship, it's, I don't know, in the movie Queen and Slim, I always remember this, they ask each other like, what do you want in a partner? And she has like this long explanation of how she just wants somebody to love the like darkest sides of her, basically. And his simple answer, like, this is like so woman man, but his simple answer is, I just want ride or die. And I'm pretty sure you've said that to me. Like, we're in this or we're not. Like, we're gonna work through the hard stuff. We're gonna go through all of the really tough conflicts. We're gonna work through all of the like struggles, or we're not, like, we have to be in this together, and we have to understand that there's going to be hard times, and there's going to be conflicts that come up that we have to work at as a team. And that's another thing. That's another really big thing. I think you have to be independent in the meaning of have your own things that you love to do, have, I don't know, like your friends, your family, like all of those things. But in a relationship, it really does have to be like team fucking work, like every day, in every single aspect, from simple as doing the dishes, cleaning the house, like laundry, like all of these simple things that make a big difference in how you live your life, to the big stuff of, I don't know. You got anything?
The dishes thing was a good one to start with, but yeah, just like anything that can help the other person. That's what it's all about. Like, and I talk to her about this all the time. Like, I say, we know what not only would help the other person, but would just help our overall being. Like, if something's out, like, it's not even about like, oh, I've put this up before. It's like, it's out. Like, it's just for my well-being. And then when you do that enough times, and you have someone who notices that, and you both take notice to that, you start to realize, okay, like, if we're both doing this and we're both, operating on this level, like, we can be in a pretty good place, a good mental place, a good environment place, like everything. So it's just about doing for the other person. Like, again, we talked about serving. Like,
yeah,
it's ultimately not being selfish, like, and just serving the other person and serving a higher purpose.
And I'm glad you said that, because I feel like that leads us into another point of something we had to overcome, is just the, where we came from. So he's an older brother, and I am the baby, but also kind of like an only child. I didn't grow up close to my siblings. So I definitely had a very different mentality than he did. His was always like protector, looking after somebody else, like taking care of somebody else, and mine was like focused more so on I just got to take care of me. So I think those two like clashing kind of like it clashed for sure, because I probably was a bit more like selfish in some regards. There's a lot of times where I put other people above me in every way, but there's some things that, you know, I think of myself first instead of, you know, thinking of how it's gonna affect him.
But that's how our relationship has grown, because it's just it's night and day comparison to when we first got together to now. The adjustment has just been, like she said, a 180, because yeah, it was a clash just from the sense of like, again, like, and there's nothing wrong with that, honestly. Like it's there's nothing to make it be to demonize somebody or make it look like they did anything on purpose. It was just two people that met that were from totally different backgrounds and grew up totally different ways in terms of responsibilities and siblings and this and that. So when we got together, that was something that was an obstacle that I feel like has happened in other relationships, and those relationships have not lasted. And that's why it's something that I can look at and be like, this is like dope. This is something that I'm committed to, because like I know that there are other relationships, interracial relationships, whatever, maybe not even interracial, just like single child and oldest brother type thing. The way we clashed, I'm sure other relationships clash like that too, but the fact that we adjusted and we have a faith in something grander, a bigger plan, like that really helps us kind of wade the waters on that.
100%. I feel like we've answered that pretty good. All right, so the next.
I hope so.
I know, I gotta keep an eye on my battery. But another question, and this is something I also feel like we could make an entire video on, is just, and we will, like the idea of being in an interracial relationship. We talked a bit about it last time, but this question is, did your family always support your mixed race relationship?
For me, my question, I feel like mine's going to be faster.
Yeah, I feel like mine's...
Maybe not. I don't know. But for me, mine was, yeah, my mom never cared. She never cared who I was with, skin color, race-wise, anything like that. That was never her MO or anything. Like when it came to who I brought back home or brought to her, she just really wanted it to be somebody always that was just a good person, like good head on their shoulders, like just anything a typical mom would want for their son. But and as far as my dad too, he was the same way. My dad has been in interracial relationships himself and is currently in one. So like I actually have a little sister because of a interracial relationship he was in, and everything about that was just beautiful. So I think that's a good thing, because I know in Black culture that is a thing. Like maybe not with everyone, but it is a thing where people don't necessarily think Black people should date outside of their race, and think that they should just stay within their race, and you know, people should be friends and everything like that. And I get that. For people that live that way, we're all different in that regard. My family, I also have an aunt that I love, Danny, who is an artist, an amazing artist and a fitness guru and everything like that, and she's in an interracial relationship as well with...
In the other way.
So my Aunt Kelly is in an interracial relationship as well with a Asian man. So like it's something that I'm not new to. Mm-hmm. It's something that's like in my family, and I've seen quite a bit. So it was easy. My family definitely supported it.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever really, I mean, we've kind of talked about that before, but we both kind of came from like families where that wasn't, you know, we weren't the only ones. So I think that if you are going into a family where it is like the first interracial relationship, I'm sure that's completely different. But I've shared my story before, and for me, my stepdad was black, so that's just what I knew. Like, from the time I was like 7 or 8 till, you know, for years and years and years, like my whole childhood, my whole high school, college, like that's all I knew was an interracial relationship, and that was just my norm. And also, my aunt growing up was in an interracial relationship and had my cousin, and she had multiple babies that, you know, I grew up with. They were like my baby cousins were all black, and I don't know, like that's just what I knew, and that's kind of like an interesting. I'm sure it's much harder if you're the first one in your family.
Yeah.
I can also touch on my dad, though. My dad is, I don't think there's any interracial relationship on my dad's side of the family, so we probably are the first ones on that side, but my dad is much older. I've shared that, and he comes from a totally different time period, but my dad is also the most loving, supportive person I know of me, and basically just trusts me in everything that I do. I don't know if I've ever said this to you before, but like I definitely was nervous to tell him, because I think growing up with growing up with my stepdad, I always felt like there was a little bit of like
resentment.
Yes. Yeah, resentment, because my mom was with a new person who happened to be black, and so I think I was nervous because of that, but I don't know. So, but it didn't necessarily have to do, I don't know. It was just like a little bit of nervousness. Of course, I felt that way with my dad, with any guy that I would bring to him, because he's my dad, and I'm kind of a daddy's girl. So, yeah.
By kind of, she means all the way.
Okay. Alright, since we're on this topic, we might as well just answer it. And then that'll probably be our last question, because I don't want my iPad to die. But the question is from Katie again. She said, have you talked about raising mixed children and how you would do that? Yep.
Yeah.
A lot.
Sure.
Every day.
You want to start?
I think that goes back to and we touched on it a little bit last time, but my knowledge of black culture, and making sure that I'm in a position and understand that my child is not going to be white. My child is going to be black. It might be a little lighter than you, but
It's going to be black, though. People are going to see it as black.
So, yeah, I mean, we've talked about that a lot, and like I said, I think a lot of it just came down to me having an understanding of that and an understanding of the culture, and everything that I can do to make sure that I'm in a position to educate on both sides, you know?
No, that's good. And also, it's just important for us raising mixed kids. Like, we're saying they're black, like they're gonna be black, but that's just that has to be emphasized here, because there's not two black parents that can reinforce that. Like, one side of this didn't have the 18 years that I had of learning and growing up with black people and learning the culture. She didn't have that. So meeting me, I mean, she had a black stepdad and had little sprinkles of it here and there, but meeting me and then to one day have kids, that's a whole nother ball game to step into. And so that's why we emphasize that here, that they're going to be seen as black, because that's the reality of things. I have a mixed sister, and she's seen as black. She even recognizes herself as black most of the time, and that's just the reality of things. So we talk about this all the time. As a white mother to black children that are gonna want to look to their mom, not only look to their dad, but gonna want to be able to look to their mom to know about the culture. Like, it's good for her to know that, and not just be like, oh, I don't really know. You got to go to your dad.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really know about that. it's good for them to know that, because I mean that'll just obviously give them even more respect for you as their mother as well. Like once they get old enough to understand all the work that you did to like gather that information for the sake of your family, like they're gonna grow up and really appreciate that.
What was that movie called? that that where they were in the same room. Bree told us to watch it on Netflix, I think.
American Boy?
Yeah, American Boy. We watched that movie, and in that movie there's a black mother and a white father, and the kid kind of ends up resenting his dad in the end because he pushed him so hard towards like his dreams that he had and not necessarily understanding what he was going through as a black child. And I think that definitely like opened my eyes to like that aspect of it. And in the movie the mother said, you know, like I wake up every day, what did she say? I wake up every day like worried. Like I wake up in the middle of the night worried because my son is black in today's society. And I think that that's a big thing. You know, that's a big thing that I will have to handle as the mother of a black child, where I didn't have to go through that. Like I didn't have to live through the world that we live in now, where things haven't really changed since slavery, or like because now it's just mass incarceration, and it's scary. That's really scary, and it's really scary to raise a child in that environment. It makes you have to let them know about the world that they live in as a mother. You would have to make them aware that they may be seen differently by some people, and that's really scary, but also like something that preparation and like we can just do all that we can to make sure that we're ready for that.
Yeah, just constantly studying, constantly keeping yourself knowledgeable of what's going on in, you know, today's society in terms of just like prison reform and civil rights for, you know, people of color in general, and just like constantly keeping yourself updated on that is, you know, not only my job obviously, and it's something that I naturally want to do, but for her on her side to be in a pause, we back. To be in a relationship with a black man though, for her, it's just it's very important for her to know all of that. That's what it comes down to. That's a big point in us raising children, is to emphasize how important it is for them to not only be able to come to me to learn about black culture and learn about all the things going on, but to be able to go to their white mother and be able to know just as much, if not, you know what I'm saying, if not more, because she's just been taking in as much knowledge as possible, and me giving her as much knowledge as possible as I can.
All right, I kind of want to wrap this up just because my iPad is gonna die soon.
It's gonna wrap itself
and
up.
Yeah, we've been talking for a little bit, but let's kind of summarize. So I feel like the biggest things that we have grown, like in our relationship, how we've grown as people, is our faith has been huge.
For sure.
And just like creating that real strength and looking to a higher power to like kind of guide us and get us through those tough parts. Another part is just realizing that we're a team and we're in this for the long haul. Like this isn't just, you know, we're not just dating, like we're doing this thing, we're going hard, we're working really hard together. And what else? Is there anything else?
Oh, that was the recap for the first question, I think.
Yeah. And then you can listen to the rest.
Way to end it, girl. You can listen to the rest. Just go back, rewind.
All right, we love you guys, and we appreciate you listening to us today. And again, if you just have any questions, we're going to continue to show up every Thursday and just serve in whatever way that we can.
Tell them where they can go. Tell them.
Sam's calling us.
We back again. We got pause, but we back again. Tell them where they can go to the other videos. Video 2, 1.
Yes.
You gotta let these people know.
You're right, babe. You're so right.
See, I'm
sorry.
See, if I don't tell her, she won't.
Okay. Well, all of the videos are, the first 15 minutes of them are on my IGTV, so you can look there. But to watch the full videos, you can go to my YouTube. It is linked in my bio on Instagram, or just search Madeline Fenton on YouTube. But you can watch videos 1 and 2. Video 1 was our story. Video 2 was answering lots of questions. And here's video 3. So, hi guys. Hi Samantha. I'll call you back in a minute.
We getting
All right.
off.
Love you. Bye guys.
See y'all next Thursday.